You know what's funny? The loud ones, they're always the first to fall. They bark, they whine, they scream about how strong they are. But when life throws a real punch, when it doesn't just sting, but breaks ribs and spills blood, they're the first to crumble. That's what people never get. The ones who shout the loudest are usually just trying to drown out their own fear. You ever seen a lion roar before the kill? Nah. It stalks in silence. That's where the real threat lives. In the ones who don't talk much. In the ones who watch, calculate, and carry pain in their chest like a loaded weapon. Quiet, controlled, and cold. That's the thing about silence, kid. It ain't empty. It's full of everything people were too scared to say. And those who hold it, they're dangerous. 'Cause they remember every word, every scar, every betrayal, and they build from it. They don't scream for help. They don't beg for mercy. They endure, and when it's time to speak, they don't waste it on noise. They use it like a blade, sharp, precise, final. You talk too much. Not with your mouth. With your actions. With your desperation. You try too hard to prove you're worth something. Like maybe if you do enough, say enough, be enough, they'll see you. They'll finally stop ignoring you. Let me break that fantasy for you. They won't. You could light yourself on fire just to keep them warm, and they'll still say you didn't burn bright enough. That's the truth. You gave them access. You handed them your silence. And they abused it. Every time you held your tongue to keep the peace. Every time you smiled when you were bleeding inside. They took notes. They saw your silence as weakness. But it ain't. It never was. Silence is restraint. Silence is power. And now, you've got to take it back. Let me tell you something about those who talk less. They don't do it for no reason. They've seen too much. Felt too much. When you've been betrayed enough times, laughed at when you were down, kicked when you couldn't even crawl, you stop explaining yourself. You stop wasting breath on people who already decided to misunderstand you. You sit in your own chaos and you start building. Brick by brick. Pain by pain. You don't need to announce what you're doing. You don't need to post your every move. The real ones, they don't tell you they're winning. They just win, quietly. And when it's done, when the smoke clears, that's when people realize the monster they created. The monster that was watching, learning, waiting. That's what you need to become. Not loud, not flashy, not desperate, but dangerous. Dangerous in silence. Unpredictable in stillness. That's when you own the room, without ever needing to raise your voice. I've watched people underestimate the quiet ones my whole life. They see them as soft, weak, emotional. But what they don't see is the discipline, the focus, the self-control it takes to hold it all in, to keep your hands steady when your whole soul wants to break. To walk away when your blood's boiling. That's power, not yelling, not breaking things. Control, silence. And when you finally move, oh, it's not for attention, it's for impact. They won't even hear it coming. You'll destroy everything they ever mocked you for. That's why they fear the quiet. Because silence can't be predicted. You don't know what a silent man's thinking. You don't know what he's planning. But deep down, you know, he saw everything. He remembers. And he's just waiting for the right moment to strike. That's who you're becoming. Or at least, that's who you should be. 'Cause talking got you nowhere. Begging got you burned. But silence, it'll teach them all. You see, when the world breaks you enough times, you start choosing your battles different. You don't react to everything anymore. You don't waste time proving your side of the story to people who already made up their minds. You don't scream into deaf ears, hoping they'll finally listen. No, you observe. You let them talk. Let them brag. Let them think they're winning. Because the ones who talk less, they know more. And that knowledge, it doesn't come from books. It comes from surviving hell and learning its language. It comes from sitting alone in a room filled with your own regrets and not running from them. From watching the people you would have died for walk out like you were nothing. That's a different kind of education. A brutal kind. But the realest one you'll ever get. And it teaches you that the loudest person in the room is usually the weakest, the most broken, the one desperate to distract everyone from the fact that they got nothing real behind their words. You think you're hurt now? You think you've seen pain? You haven't even scratched the surface until you've been betrayed by someone you prayed for, until you've helped someone heal and they left you bleeding, until you've been loyal to someone who used you like an option and smiled while doing it. That kind of pain, it don't scream, it sits, it simmers, and it molds you, turns you into something sharper, colder. And you stop asking why they did it. You stop looking for closure. You just learn. You learn the patterns. You learn the tones. You learn to read lies like they're written in bold. And when they come back, and they always do, you won't need revenge. You won't even need words. Your silence will say it all. That you outgrew them. That they lost access to a version of you they'll never meet again. That's the quiet power you're building now. Not the kind that flexes online. The kind that changes your whole aura. The kind they feel when you walk into a room without saying a damn thing. And let's talk about betrayal. Yeah, that sharp one. The one you didn't see coming from the people you trusted the most. That's when it hits, huh? That's when everything you believed in feels like a joke. That's when you finally get it. Nobody's really loyal to you. They're loyal to their need of you. The second that need dies, so does their presence. That silence you feel after, that cold emptiness, that's not loneliness, kid. That's clarity. That's the noise of your illusions shattering. And yeah, it's gonna hurt, but it's also gonna free you. 'Cause once you stop expecting from people, you start investing in yourself. You stop speaking to be understood. You start building to be undeniable. You stop trying to be liked. You start becoming respected. And here's the trick. Respect never comes from being loud. It comes from being solid, from being unshakable, from being the kind of person who doesn't flinch when the world spits in your face. That's who they fear. That's who they can't break. But you gotta earn that version of yourself. You gotta bleed for it, suffer for it, starve for it. You gotta go through nights where your own thoughts beat you bloody, days where your reflection feels like a stranger. You'll lose people, friends, lovers, maybe even family. But every time someone walks away from your silence, you're one step closer to peace. You're one layer deeper into your strength. And eventually, you'll be untouchable. Not because you're arrogant, but because you know what it cost you to stay standing. That kind of resilience doesn't need to be explained. It speaks for itself. Loud without noise. Heavy without weight. That's what silence gives you. That's what the quiet ones carry. And when the time comes to act, they don't talk. They just move. Efficient, ruthless, focused. They don't need to show off. They don't need to explain. They just do. And the world, it watches, stunned, confused, powerless. That's where you're headed if you keep walking this path. But you gotta stop looking back. You gotta stop answering calls from your past, like it's got something new to say. You've heard it all before. It only wants access, not reconciliation. So cut them off, and cut them off in silence. No arguments, no closure speeches, no guilt, just disappear. Let your absence be the message. Let your growth be the reply. Let your silence be the legacy. Because trust me, they'll talk, they'll whisper, they'll wonder, and they'll never know what hit them. All because you chose to keep quiet and move smart. That's the edge. That's the lesson. And that's the game you're about to win. You know what I've noticed about people? They only respect silence once it's too late. When you stop explaining, they start overthinking. When you stop chasing, they start craving. When you go quiet, they go crazy, trying to figure out what you're thinking, what you're planning, what they did to lose you. That's the beauty of being the quiet one. You don't have to lift a finger to destroy them. Your silence does the work. Your absence does the haunting. But you only earn that kind of silence through war, through personal war. The kind where you drag yourself through hell every night just to wake up and do it again. Where your mind turns on you, your heart gets used like trash, and your soul. It learns to walk through storms without flinching. That's what shapes the ones who talk less. Not ego, not arrogance, survival, pain, overload. They didn't choose silence. It chose them. Because everything else got exhausted. Talking didn't work. Begging didn't work. Trusting didn't work. So they shut up and started building. And the building, it ain't flashy. It ain't pretty. It's lonely. It's ugly. It's raw. You'll be sitting there with no one clapping for you. No one checking in. Just you and your demons. Staring each other down in a room that's either gonna break you or turn you into a savage. That's the real process. No quotes, no motivational playlists, just grind. Painful, thankless, invisible grind. And while everyone else is out there flexing their fake progress, you're learning how to move in silence. You're learning the discipline of disappearing, not running, strategizing. You're learning how to be at peace with being misunderstood, how to stop needing validation, how to become the kind of person whose success speaks so loud. Your name echoes in rooms you never even stepped in. That's the power in silence, kid. It creates a legend while the loud ones burn out trying to trend for the day. And don't get it twisted. Just 'cause you're quiet doesn't mean you forgot. Oh no, you remember everything. Every fake friend, every two-faced smile, every time they made you feel small, every look that said, you'll never make it. You carry that like ammo. You don't talk about it, but it's there, loaded. And when you rise, when you finally move, it's surgical, it's poetic, because you won't just win, you'll make them regret ever betting against your silence. That's why you don't need to explain your pain to anyone. Most people don't care. They just want something to gossip about. You owe no one a story. Let them guess. Let them lie. You keep walking. Keep working. One day they'll choke on every assumption they made, and the best part? You won't even be there to watch. That's the ultimate revenge, leaving them behind without even turning around. You ever wonder why some people get so uncomfortable around the quiet ones? It's because we make them confront themselves. We're mirrors. We don't feed into their drama, so they see the hollowness of it. We don't clap for their nonsense, so they start questioning their own worth. We don't speak, so they start hearing their own noise too loud. That's why they try to provoke us, to get a reaction, to drag us into their circus. But the real strength is not reacting, not explaining, not defending, just sitting there, watching, letting them unravel. Because silence, it's the loudest threat there is. It says, I saw everything, I just don't think you're worth a word. That hits harder than any insult. That's power they'll never understand, because they're too addicted to attention, too weak to sit with themselves. But you've learned how to do that. You've learned how to be your own army. That's rare. That's dangerous. That's lethal. So let them underestimate you. Let them think your silence means defeat. Let them laugh, mock, doubt, forget. It's all fuel. Every time they write you off, they're just adding to the masterpiece you're building in the dark. And one day, that silence will scream louder than anything they've ever heard. It'll be carved into your success, stitched into your legacy, echoing in the spaces they once occupied. And by then, you won't even care. Not because you're heartless, but because you've evolved. Because you understand now, some people are only meant to be chapters, not your whole book. And when their part ends, you don't beg them to stay. You close the page in silence and keep writing the story that they'll never be able to touch again. You know what's terrifying to most people? A man who's been hurt, but healed in silence. A man who watched everything he loved burn, and instead of crying for help, he walked through the ashes and rebuilt from scratch. That kind of man, he doesn't brag, he doesn't post, he doesn't make noise, because what lives inside him now isn't rage, it's precision. He doesn't need to explode. He just moves different. And every step he takes rattles the world around him. That's what the quiet creates. That's who you're becoming. You've been through it, haven't you? You've had people smile in your face and stab you the second you turned around. You've had your loyalty mistaken for weakness, your kindness taken as a green light for abuse. You gave them every version of yourself, and they still asked for more. They drained you. And when you had nothing left, they walked away, like you were the problem. But here's what they don't know. You were watching. Every fake word, every sideways glance, every backhanded compliment. You caught it all. You just didn't say a damn thing. And that silence, that was the warning. See, the weak react, the powerful observe, the wise prepare. And you've been preparing, haven't you? Quietly, while they laughed, while they gossiped, while they built circles just to keep you out. But what they forgot is the storm don't need permission. It arrives when it's ready, and when it does, it doesn't knock, it breaks the door down. That's you. You're the storm. You're the silence that's been storing lightning. And when it strikes, it ain't gonna be for show. It's gonna be for everything they thought you couldn't be. For every door they tried to shut. For every lie they told. For every ounce of you they tried to bury. You won't even need to speak. Your progress will scream. Your transformation will haunt. Your peace will offend. And your distance, that'll be the loudest sentence they'll ever hear. Because here's the thing. They never expected you to stay quiet this long. They thought you'd beg, break, settle, come crawling back. That's what loud people do. They assume silence means surrender, but they're wrong. Silence is survival. Silence is growth. Silence is the patience of a beast sharpening its claws in the dark. You've been silent because you were learning, because you were healing, because you were rearranging every piece of your soul they tried to shatter. And now you move with awareness, with purpose, with venom. They won't see it coming, and that's the beauty. The same ones who dismissed you will be the ones whispering your name when you're not even in the room. That's what happens when you stop explaining and start executing. That's the consequence of being quiet, disciplined, and dangerous. And don't let them guilt you. Don't let them play the victim when your silence finally starts to bite. They'll act confused. Why'd you change? They'll ask, as if they didn't light the fire that turned you into ice. As if they didn't ignore your worth until your silence was the only thing left to give. Don't explain it. Don't justify it. Let them sit with the version of you they created. Let them feel the void your energy once filled. That's their punishment, not because you're cruel, but because you're done playing nice while bleeding. You're done clapping for people who wouldn't even whisper your name in a room full of opportunity. You're done making excuses for behavior you'd never allow from yourself. That's not pride, it's evolution. That's not revenge, it's survival. And you owe that to yourself. After everything you've endured, after everything they tried to kill in you, you owe yourself this silence, this focus, this next chapter. And when that next chapter opens, let it be nothing like the past. Let your moves be quiet, but your results thunder. Let your love be rare, but your standards ruthless. Let your heart be soft, but your boundaries made of stone. Let them try to reach you, only to realize you're not who you used to be. Let your silence echo with the sound of power reclaimed. And when they come back, and they will, smiling, apologizing, reminiscing, don't even flinch, don't explain, don't attack, just nod and walk away. That's the final lesson of silence. It doesn't beg, it doesn't plead, it doesn't scream for justice. It simply ends things. Cold, quiet, absolute, ... You know what breaks people the most? It's not being yelled at. It's not being insulted. It's not even being betrayed. It's when they try to provoke you, poke you, test you, humiliate you, and you don't even blink. You don't give them the drama they're begging for. You don't give them the satisfaction of a reaction. That silence, that kills them. It eats at their pride. Because people who thrive on chaos can't stand peace. They can't handle a soul that refuses to dance to their toxic rhythm. And when you go silent, when you choose to let their noise crash against the walls of your stillness, they panic. They start making up narratives. They paint you as cold, heartless, distant. But deep down, they know the truth. They lost access to a version of you that used to tolerate their nonsense. They didn't appreciate your words, so now they get your silence. And believe me, it's louder than anything you ever said. You want to know why people run their mouths so much? 'Cause they're terrified of being exposed. They wear their words like armor, hoping you won't see how weak they really are inside. But you saw through them. You always did. You just stayed quiet because you had faith. You thought they'd grow. You thought they'd wake up. But now Now you understand. Some people don't change. Some people only get worse. And if you keep letting them sit at your table out of guilt or history, they'll keep poisoning your food while pretending to toast your success. That's why you're quiet now. Not because you're scared, not because you're lost, but because you're done feeding people who wouldn't starve for you. You're done pouring into cups that leak. You're done explaining yourself to minds too small to understand your depth. That's not bitterness, it's wisdom. That's not cruelty, it's protection. And here's the darkest truth no one wants to admit. The more silent you become, the more people start confessing who they really are. Not with words, but with patterns, with how they treat your absence, with how they react to your peace. You stop reaching out, and they disappear. You stop checking in, and the bond vanishes. That's not losing people. That's watching illusions fade. That's clarity. That's what silence gives you. It removes the noise so you can see the truth. The fake ones expose themselves when the attention stops. The loyal ones, they show up even in the quiet. And the ones who get mad at your silence, they're the ones who depended on your chaos to keep theirs hidden. They never wanted you strong. They never wanted you wise. They wanted you predictable, emotional, easy to control. And now they're scared. Because you're none of those things anymore. You've changed, quietly, but completely. I know what it feels like to walk away with your chest full of pain and your mouth full of things you'll never say. I know what it's like to leave places where your heart begged you to stay. But that's the cost of growth. That's the tax of evolution. Sometimes silence means mourning the death of your old self. The version of you that tolerated too much, trusted too quick, stayed too long. But that death, it births someone else, someone sharper, someone colder, someone who doesn't chase, doesn't beg, doesn't wait, someone who walks into rooms and doesn't need to announce their presence because it's felt, because it's heavy, because it's real. That's who you are now. And it scares them because your silence forced them to face themselves. And most people can't survive that kind of reflection. So from now on, don't explain your boundaries. Don't justify your peace. Don't negotiate with anyone who tries to shame you for choosing yourself. Let them think what they want. Let them spin their little stories, because in the end, they'll talk themselves into a corner, and you'll be too far gone to even care. Your silence will be the scar they carry. Not because you hurt them, but because they hurt you, and you healed without them. That's the kind of power no noise can match. That's the kind of power they'll never understand. And you'll finally realize you never needed to say a word to be unforgettable. There's a moment, a dangerous, defining moment, when a person stops needing to be understood, stops craving clarity, stops trying to explain the pain in their chest or the fire in their silence. That moment, that's when they become untouchable. That's when you stop being a victim and start becoming a weapon. A weapon crafted in silence, sharpened by rejection, and loaded with the truth no one was ready to hear. That's who you are becoming. You're not the same anymore, are you? You used to wear your heart so loud on your sleeve. They didn't even have to ask how you felt. You used to bleed for people who wouldn't even offer you a bandage. You gave loyalty like it was endless, like they earned it just by existing in your space. And what did it get you? Heartache, silence, fake apologies, and a mind full of maybe I wasn't enough. But now your silence is the proof that you were always more than enough. They just weren't capable of recognizing it. Or worse, they saw it and they feared it. So they broke it. They couldn't handle someone like you, someone who was real, someone who actually meant every word, followed through on every promise, and stood solid when others folded. You weren't loud. You weren't fake. You were presence. You were truth. But in a world built on lies and convenience, truth makes people uncomfortable. So they rejected it. They rejected you. Not because you weren't worthy, but because they weren't. That silence you sit in now, that isn't emptiness. That's your rebirth. That's the sound of your voice being redirected inward. You've stopped explaining your pain to people who used it against you. You've stopped offering your soul to people who were just thirsty for attention, not connection. And in doing so, you became your own sanctuary. Alone, maybe, but at peace. Not because it's easy, but because it's real. You figured it out now, haven't you? You don't have to raise your voice to be heard. You don't have to fight for a seat at tables you were never meant to sit at. You don't have to prove yourself to people who were committed to misunderstanding you. That's the difference between noise and power. Noise tries to be seen. Power knows it already is. And when you stop chasing closure, when you stop needing explanations that never come, you free yourself. You become dangerous. Because now, your silence isn't confusion, it's control. You choose what to respond to. You choose who gets your energy. You choose how to move. And no one can manipulate that. They can guess. They can assume. But they'll never know what's coming. That's your advantage. Predictability is a weakness. Silence is strategy. And yeah, it gets lonely sometimes. That's the cost. But don't confuse loneliness with loss. What you've lost wasn't yours. It was a lesson, a mirror, a message. And what you're gaining now, it's something no one can take. Self-respect, inner strength, the ability to walk away from chaos and not feel guilty about it. That's rare. That's special. And it makes you a threat to everyone who tried to control you through obligation, guilt, or love with strings attached. They don't fear your silence because it's quiet. They fear it because it means you've outgrown them, because it means you're no longer reacting. And when someone stops reacting, they become unpredictable, they become powerful, they become free. Let them talk. Let them twist the narrative. Let them play the victim in stories where they were the villain. You don't need to defend yourself. You don't need to speak on things that don't deserve your breath. Because your growth, that speaks loud enough. Your discipline, that screams louder than any argument. And your silence, that's the final chapter they never saw coming. That's the closure they'll never get. Not because you're heartless, but because you're done handing out pieces of your soul like it's on sale. You've paid the price. You've felt the fire. And now you walk in silence. But everything around you feels your presence like thunder. You don't need noise to shake the world. You just need to keep walking, quietly, ruthlessly, unstoppably. You ever notice how silence makes people uncomfortable? The second you stop oversharing, stop explaining, stop playing the clown in their circus, they squirm. They start throwing labels at you. You've changed, they'll say. You're cold now. Number, you're just awake. You finally saw through the performance. You saw how they only applauded when you were small enough not to threaten them, broken enough to be controlled, and loyal enough to stay even when you were starving. But now that you've gone quiet, now that you've gone still, they're scared. Because people can read noise, but silence? Silence is a cipher. And the quiet ones? We speak in code, in patterns, in shifts of energy, in absence. We don't tell you we're done, we just go. And when we do, we don't leave a mess, we leave a void. That's why silence is feared. Because it says everything without saying anything. It says, you had your chance. You wasted it. You used to beg people to understand you. You used to lay your soul out like an open book, hoping someone, anyone, would read the damn pages without tearing them apart. But every time you did, they dog-eared the corners so. Spilled coffee on your meaning, quoted you out of context, and walked away mid-chapter. And that's what killed your voice. Not because you didn't want to speak, but because no one ever truly listened. So now you speak in silence, in distance, in presence that doesn't chase or compete or explain. You let your peace scream. And let me tell you something. Peace is louder than chaos ever was. It doesn't need to prove itself. It just is. And when you walk into a room with that kind of silence, people feel it in their bones. They don't know what changed. They just know they're no longer in control of the story. That's what this world hates. People who are no longer emotionally available for abuse. You used to be predictable. They knew you'd answer the call, show up no matter how they treated you, forgive before the apology, break your back to carry the weight they never bothered to help you lift. But now you let it fall. You let the silence answer their disrespect. You let absence speak for the betrayal. You're no longer explaining why you walked away. You're just gone. And believe me, that haunts more than any confrontation ever could. They replay everything. They wonder when they lost you. They retrace their words, trying to pinpoint the exact moment you stopped being theirs. But you won't answer. You won't clarify. Because once you learn to value your silence more than their attention, you finally taste freedom. And that taste, it ruins everything else. People like to act like they can handle the truth. But the second you start speaking from a place of knowing, of wisdom, of been there, suffered that, they back off. They say you're too intense, too distant, too real. Because most people don't want truth. They want comfort. They want sugar-coated lies, echo chambers, and safe spaces where they're never challenged. But you outgrew that. You don't feed egos anymore. You don't shrink for the sake of inclusion. You don't water down your fire just to keep others warm. You let your silence cut through the noise like a blade. And those who can't handle it, they were never strong enough to stand beside you in the first place. You're not cruel. You're just not available for anything that costs your soul. It's peace. And if that makes you the villain in their story, so be it. Better to be the villain in their fiction than the fool in your own reality. And here's the part that really stings. Them, not you. One day they'll realize the silence wasn't distance. It was a boundary, a protection, a mercy. You could have destroyed them with facts, with truth, with everything you held back. But you chose silence. You chose to walk away with your dignity instead of stooping to their level. And when they see you winning, when they see you glowing in rooms they were never invited to, they'll feel that silence louder than ever. It'll echo in every corner of their shallow victories. It'll remind them of the respect they took for granted, the loyalty they mishandled, the love they mistook for weakness. And by then, you'll be too far ahead to even notice. Because the quiet ones, we don't look back. We don't seek closure. We create distance. And that's the silence they'll never recover from.